Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. I feel very honored and privileged to partake on behalf of my government today in this important conference. Thank you for inviting. Germany is hosting, as you all know, a large number of Yazidi refugees and therefore attaches particular importance to many aspects that will be discussed today in this conference. And as we are approaching the 10th anniversary of the genocide, let me add that providing support to Yazidi refugees and the Yazidi community in general, and fighting sexual gender-based violence in particular, has always been and is still a priority for my government. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has traveled twice to Iraq. First in 2019 in her capacity as Member of Parliament, and as you all may recall, last year in March as Foreign Minister. Then she had the opportunity not only to meet Yazidi survivors in IDP camps, children, women and men still traumatized by the horrors they experienced, but she was able to travel to the Yazidis' homeland in Sinjar as well. She visited, for example, the village of Kocho, where the most unspeakable crimes were committed only a few years ago. These crimes must never be forgotten. They unfortunately cannot be undone, and we cannot bring back those who tragically lost their lives. But what we can do is to ensure that justice is served, that the perpetrators are held accountable, and that the survivors can live a life in dignity and safety. That is why in January last year, the German Parliament recognized the crimes committed against the Yazidis as genocide. Germany has been very substantially engaged since 2014 in Iraq with regard to bringing justice to the victims of Daesh. Nadia Murad, you all know her, has said once in a meeting with our foreign minister, as long as the perpetrators are free, the victims will not find their peace. And it is against this background that we have been long-time supporters of the Commission for Investigation and Gathering Evidence in The Hague, and of the United Nations investigative team to promote accountability for the crimes committed by Daesh, better known as UNITAD. And we will continue to support the interests of the victims of terror and their families. Germany has been on the forefront when it comes to prosecuting the perpetrators. German tribunals were the first to hand down severe convictions of Daesh criminals, and the German courts will continue to do so. But in order to find peace, it is not only important for the victims to see that the perpetrators are brought to justice. It is also important to help the victims to overcome their trauma. And that is why my government is also supporting the Institute for Psychotherapy and Psychotraumatology at the University of The Hague, which aims clearly to teach and train psychologists in psychotherapy and psychotraumatology to support the local mental health services with clear long-term goals. In addition to this, please allow me to highlight another aspect that makes this conference so important in my eyes. The combat against sexual and gender-based violence in armed conflict is of overall, if not global, importance, and for that reason a priority for my government. Because rape, sexual enslavement and other horrific gender-based crimes sadly are the reality of many, many armed conflicts. And in many cases, they are not only the side effects, but brutal elements of strategic warfare itself. Those affected are particularly often women and girls, but also include men and boys. Combating impunity for crimes committed is a core component for any prevention. I can assure you that Germany will continue working towards these goals as we have done so over the past years. Let me close by highlighting two other important points. We welcome very much the fact that Iraq as a whole is engaged in addressing the horrors of Daesh. Passing the Yazidi survival law in 2001 was a very, very important step. We call upon the Kurdish regional government and the government of Iraq to continue and enhance their cooperation on this very important issue, because it can only be addressed adequately if all actors work together. And this is of particular importance now that the Iraqi government intends to close the remaining IDP camps. And while we generally share Iraq's interest that IDPs should not live in camps, we think that an extension of the time frame would be very helpful to ensure humane return, integration or further relocation. It would also allow for additional political efforts to remove the remaining significant barriers for return and to avoid secondary displacement, which could become another factor of instability. I would like, therefore, to take this opportunity to encourage the government of Iraq and the Kurdish regional government to ensure support for IDPs who remain in the camps past the end of the deadline for the camp closures. Let me close by thanking you once again very much for the invitation and by wishing you all a very successful conference with informed debates, exchanges and useful insights. Thank you very much for your attention. Zor spas, shukran.